Hey everybody, this light is way too bright. It's late at night, and I'm a friggin' vampire. Friggin', I think that's the proper terminology. I'm smoking nicotine. I am feeling pretty good. I got some stuff in my mustache. Sorry about that. I've had a lot of time to think. Today I discovered some things about good and evil, and that what I know I'm just like gonna dive right into what I'm talking about, but this is me, kind of therapy talking, and I'm pretty excited to have discovered some things tonight. So I lost my train of thought on purpose. So what I've am currently trying to figure out and rethink is the proper terminology is good and evil in humanity. And what that means. Now everything I say, let me just like reference. I posted another video about me understanding good and evil and how it changes your mindset, how you do things in life. But staying true to my values as a vampire, I'm posting some other videos about what my values are. Don't hurt anybody. Be ethical. Obey the law. That's kind of a constant. Obey the law. Um, figuring out things about being an evil mindset. I mean, to be evil is not. I know for some people it may come easier, and I've wondered certain things. Like you're obviously I've had to rethink things as I've progressed as a leader, progressed as a vampire, progressed as a man into adulthood. It's not that I had to, but I wanted to, and things started to reveal. Life started to reveal itself in different ways. You're an adult and you're hanging out with adults. You start to figure it out. Much of these things are secret. Being a vampire is secret. I think the fact that the way good and evil is described in movies, in certain movies, is interesting. Um, and how our minds work. Like, why would you not want to be evil? That's a question. I mentioned in a recent video, um, I think maybe it was the last video or one of the last videos, how, evil people can still be fair. Certain professions require an evil degree of evil mindset. And for survival, basically, be able to do the job. And that if you're a good, like a really good person or in a good mindset, if an evil thing is done to you, you're going to freak out. Whereas if you're an evil person and something evil is done to you, you're not going to, unless you want to, of course. All right, this light is way too bright. I'm going to figure this out real quick. Hold on a second. Oh, look at that. was a lot better, actually. All right. So, something is telling me inside that, of course, to me, let me first say that there's a fear inside, an irrational fear, and I'm very conscientious of having irrational fears, because I've done a lot of therapy, and the feelings that come up inside when I have a fear that doesn't make sense, it's usually because it's there, it has been placed there, and of course, um, me being who I am, I want to investigate why it's there. If it's irrational, it's holding me back. That's clearly not what I'm trying to do. Um, these are therapy videos. The message is to spread positive awareness of vampires, um, to be able to communicate, and not have that outright hate some people have, to spread education, but education beyond just that, education that comes with being a vampire, that I may uh, be able to tap into, um, particular um, knowledge that a normal person may not even want to investigate or may not be able to. And the reason why I say that, something that I've thought about tonight. What if you were pure evil? Well, pure evil people belong in institutions, and they don't deserve to be, you know, if they're evil, then they're evil. That's not true, though. As I've mentioned, um, that thought has been drilled into me and us. You only see the people who are evil, who are breaking the law. That's not what I'm talking about. What if you were just a vampire? Vampires are considered evil, pure evil, to some. But also, if evil and being able to have the capacity to enter evil mindsets and good mindsets, I've demonstrated, clearly I've demonstrated being able to be in good mindsets. It's pretty much has been my norm. And I've been actually watched just before this the video of one of my earlier videos, watching me analyzing, and then seeing one of my latest to see the change in me. As a leader and a person who can figure things out, um, what looks wrong and what looks correct or better. Just like being an artist, you look at a picture and you're like, or a painting, say, well, no, this would look better. This looks better. This looks better. Okay, then no, this looks right. This is perfect. This is going in the right direction. That's what I'm doing. I'm using that part of my brain to see, you know, the good vampire, the vampire who is too good. And I've talked about that in another video, being too good. And couple interesting things. Clearly, there's some stereotypes about being in the South and racism, but clearly there's racism everywhere. Racism in it of itself is easily identified as evil. We can pretty much all agree that racism is evil. But not all people believe that racism is bad in different ways. So I'm going to use this as an example. When a person does something racist to me or says something racist to me, when I first really encountered that, which I didn't really encounter until I was here in the South, because people are pretty outspoken in the South. Some people. I didn't like it, plain and simple. It really, really bothered me. But to put things simply, but I started to look into it, understand it. I started to see it as an evil act. I am Hispanic, okay, and part Hispanic. When I was when I didn't understand things as I did a couple years ago when I moved here, all I could understand is that, hey, that's bad. Someone's doing something bad to me. It's unfair. Clearly, I was in a good mindset, a mindset to where there should be not only fairness but equality, and there should be uh, people not doing me wrong. Well, that is true in both a good and bad mindset, and should I say evil mindset? But I would freak out, and freaking out is typically a indicator to me of being in a good mindset. If I was in an evil mindset, I wouldn't freak out. I don't freak out. I wouldn't expect an evil person to freak out. No, I would expect an evil person who is wronged or feels wronged to come up with a greater understanding. Whereas a person in a good mindset probably would not do that. Or not be satisfied with that if they did. Because if you're in a good mindset, what are you going to do about it? You may put in a complaint. You may pray about it. You may vent in a therapy video about things that have bothered you. All of these things I'm not saying are bad options. Clearly they're not. What I'm specifically trying to point out is that in an evil mindset, all of those options don't make sense. They may make sense if they're part of a greater plan or a greater vision. And that's what I'm talking about. Greater visions, greater plans, greater strategy, more complex thought. So back to racism. I started to see that there's something at play here, something at foot, something happening that I didn't quite understand. I said, well, I'm seeing clearly racist things happen. People may do or say racist things to other people. Uh, who are not their race. And in doing so, they do it in different ways. I said, well, how are these people? How are the people who are being offended? How are they coping? How are they dealing with it? What are their strategies to be able to get past the pain and the wrongness and the evil that comes with that act? Because I was looking for ways to be able to, you know, to learn from them. I started to see different kind of coping mechanisms and different strategies. Some people are just very strong. I identified that. I said, well, there's some just very strong people. They're just very tough, very strong, very solid in their values. They know that there's evil in the world, and yet they hold by and they're being good. And then I started to learn further, you know, the other side of the coin, so to speak. The people who use the evil acts done to them to be evil. They may not inherently be evil, but then someone would say something racist to them, and they would enjoy it. They'd say thank you, not necessarily voice it. They'd say, "You're being racist to me? Why, thank you, sir. I needed some help being evil because I like being evil. Because now you just gave me more power." And then, me being this character that I'm describing. Now that you have given me the fuel I need, I have trained myself and learned skills being in this evil mindset that I've perfected from other people and I've learned over the years. And you are outmatched, sir, for what I am capable of doing when I am evil. That is what I have learned. So I started to think further, take it further in my understanding. From a leadership perspective, I started to understand that when leaders mistreat their followers, the people who are beneath them, if you will, you're not supposed to say that. Clearly, a person who's in a good mindset would not like to hear that. Um, but to those who are beneath, or who are learning, if you will, that gives them power. So I just you just start to try to figure out the equation, so to speak. Well, if you don't want to give a person power, then you either keep them, you don't teach them, keep them from developing skills in evil, if you will, as that scenario I talked about with racism, and learning how to see it as an evil act, and then develop power from uh, being mistreated. You either don't teach them that, they don't, or you keep them from learning how to gain power from that, or you keep them happy, keep them good. You do good things as a leader, then they will be good, and perhaps over time, maybe even against their better judgment, as I have experienced. Um, that goodness and having good in their lives over a period of time, they will develop a new norm, if you will. And then perhaps they will be unable to see and figure out that by treating them good, treating them well, it keeps them in the dark, or a darkness, a shroud, if you will, a shadow, unless they're able to figure it out. Much like watching these videos and seeing myself and analyzing. So, I started to think about things a little bit further. I started to think about people, girls I like in particular. I started thinking about guys, some guys that I think are friendly, but for me as a male, seeking a part, there's a part of me that seeks companionship, of course. So it was easy for me to kind of get into this thought process. So I chose to think about females. I was like, well, tonight I heard a female that I like give a very evil laugh. I could hear that evil laugh, and I said to myself, wow, I like that. But why did I like it? Well, because clearly, if you're going to have an evil laugh, you're an authentic evil laugh. You're in an evil mindset, you know. And why would I want a partner who has the capability of having evil mindsets? Um, like almost instinctively, to me, that is a person who is skilled and knowledgeable, intelligent. Um, why is that good? Clearly, it's not a good thing. I've been in relationships with women who I'd consider not necessarily evil. I mean, to say a person is evil is clearly there are some people who are predisposed to just being evil. But no, I think these people that I have adored and loved in the past developed the capacity for evil. And I find that being hated or being hated, mistreated, evil acts done to you allows you to be in that mindset of it's like earning that power or that ability to tap into that power of evilness. So I started to think, well, hold on a second. What I'm about to say kind of goes against my better thinking. But then again, I am a vampire. Vampires just downright hated. Um, vampires considered abominations to some people. Most people, if I had to say, from my experience. Dark magic, forbidden. Yet, we exist. Not only do vampires exist, they're instinctively recognized. And I, as it's kind of sad to say when I'm like, I want to say like an expert in my field of research. It's kind of sad when you're the only person I know who or suspect to know uh, who is one that has been able to research and understand that it's an instinctual recognition rather than a educational one, which is really interesting. It's what I'm saying is that within what I have discovered is that vampirism and recognizing a vampire has been ingrained in our instincts as humans. And what evidence do I have to provide for that? Well, my understanding of people, my testing, maybe not intentional testing, but just by being observant, and my understanding of how people react when they learn something and then they act on it rather than when someone just acts on something and the result of how that looks. What I'm trying to say is that you can tell when someone has learned something and they're, you know, acting out on what they've learned versus something that's instinctual. Um, the result of those two different things um, can be tested and seen. That's what I'm saying. So, if vampirism and the identification of such thing is a instinctual thing, then much like racism, it's very clearly there's a likeness to it. I'm talking about two different things, but there's a likeness to it, a similarity, an instinctual similarity. So I don't know. Is it an advantage to be hated by all people, and not just people that are of your race? No, clearly it's not. Should I say I said that wrong? People of another race hating on you for being a different race. It's, a simple definition of racism. But to be hated by all people of all races because of you're a vampire. That's less advantageous, isn't it? I think that's incorrect. And I've been viewing it that way. Because what I said earlier about how hate and being mistreated, once you learn how to use that to enter an evil mindset, can be advantageous. So, what I'm basically theorizing is that I have unlimited hate and power. Maybe not unlimited power, but unlimited hate potential and negative, uh, evil uh, potential. So, to someone who is intelligent and realizes this, a person who often experiences racism and has understood how to enter evil mindsets because of it may see being a vampire as something to be jealous of just because of that fact. If a vampire is able to, such as myself, if I am able to not see that disadvantage as a disadvantage or that thing as a disadvantage anymore, but advantage, that I can enter evil mindsets very easily, and that in theory create a new norm of evil mindset for myself. And with that, um, tap into power. I think about it brings up a lot of different topics to think about it. What I'm trying to say is that, you know, trust. There's a lot of things on my mind right now. Um, I'm tired. I've been working all day. And I'm kind of mad at myself. I'm mad at myself because I'm not happy with the truth. But being what I am and being an adult, I think I'm in the right place in my development. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the video there, and I'm gonna play some video games and try to relax and keep on making these videos. I appreciate y'all for watching. I've noticed I've had some more people subscribing. I think it's only been about a month, 4 weeks or so, and since I've created this channel, and I've changed a lot, and and I think doing right and doing good for myself. I'm able to do right and do better for other people, and that I think is much better than just going around picking up trash. And you know, as I have so said in the previous videos, that going around picking up trash is a good way to keep you good and do good things. It's a good thing to do. Helping others, picking up trash or whatever. That's an example. But really, when you're a vampire and you want to do greater things, you're not going to do it by picking up trash. You're not going to do it by being a good person. Should I say, you can still be a good person, be seen as a good person, a good, uh, but you're not going to go very far. I'm not going to go very far if I don't realize the power that's within uh, not only evil, but in the truth. So, it's interesting. Um, Thinking as a leader, thinking as a quote unquote evil leader, if you will. Being an evil mindset, still being a leader, still trying to help people, still trying to be, you know, just what a leader is. See things differently, and thought about tonight. When I'm there and I'm clear, walking on a treadmill, clearly a vampire, very using my own magic. I don't like talking. I don't know why I've got such a thing about talking about magic. It's magic. It is. Uh, but when I'm doing that thing, walking, and I'm clearly in an evil mindset, and I feel that evil, uh, and I'm thinking about things. Um, One makes me want to rethink the terminology and vocabulary that I'm using, good versus evil. There should be for what I'm investigating within myself and in life. Those words are too. I mean, they're easily understood, right? But that's not the point. The point is to take away to rethink those things, because clearly there is good that comes out of um, tapping into power. Power can be used for good, clearly. Um, but what I was saying, walk on a treadmill, and I hear someone, hear people trying to like, hey, dude, hey, buddy, they're instantly trying to, where if I was in a good mindset, I would think, oh, these people are harassing me. But no, they're trying to get me to conform in a way. Is what I'm trying to think. They see that I'm evil, but they're in reality, what they're doing is they're trying to raise me up, trying to help me in ways to be able to, or to get to, to communicate with me, to get me on their level, or for me to interact to get them on whatever level that I'm on, so to speak. But the truth is, I don't want to get on their level. I don't want to interact with them. I don't, because I'm doing my own thing. But if I did not have the knowledge of what I'm talking about, if I didn't have the wisdom, then yes, their attempts, inadvertent or perhaps planned, purposeful, attempts to interact with me may have that effect to change what level I'm thinking on. If I wasn't able to decipher the not how they're talking to me, but decipher the effects of how they're talking to me, because subliminally the effects, if I don't pull the pieces apart, it's going to have a subliminal effect on me. So what I learned tonight is to take apart, to put into pieces, like in an equation, like a math equation, what these people were doing, and then add an extra piece to that equation. And I could only do that if I was in an evil mindset, at least, right now. I know that you can do that in a good mindset too, but that's not what I'm working on right now. So I'm gonna go ahead, like I said, end the video. Tired, and appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.